Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I'm excited to release an interview that we recorded a few weeks ago, my chat with actor Scott Alda Coffey. I was excited to talk to Scott for a variety of reasons, not least of which is his family lineage in relation to actor Alan Alda. We talk about how that impacted his view of his eventual career choice, as well as his role in the upcoming war drama The Outpost with Orlando Bloom and Scott Eastwood. Scott's got some amazing training in his background, and we have a lot of fun discussing his path into the biz, what got him excited to be an actor, and how clowning around helps him on set. It's a great chat, and I'm excited for you to hear it. So let's get going. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much for making time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Of course.
So I was excited to get to talk to you. Partly just family lineage. I'm always interested in how people perceive a job that is so out of the ordinary as acting. For so many of us,
hmm
it's that absolutely lunatic thing of like real people don't do that. And I'm always curious if that's different when you've got a family member that's or two that have worked in the industry. Uh, and then separately, just when the bug really bit you. I mean, everybody can want to go be in front of a camera, perhaps, but you've done enough Shakespeare.
Right.
You've got to really love the words and the feeling of the play. And I'm always interested in kind of where that real love kind of sparked. So can you talk a little bit
Absolutely.
about when you first were aware of acting as a job, and then when you were first aware that you might love doing it?
Yeah, of course. So I think I wanted to do this, or I've been saying I wanted to do this since I was like 3 years old, and I think I became aware of it at such a young age because of my grandfather. I knew I don't think I quite understood the level of where he was at, but I knew he was big. I knew he played characters on television. So I was made aware of that, and I thought that was really cool. So I was just kind of like, ooh, I want to do that. And I remember in like I think it was preschool, so like even pre-elementary school, I'd want to like show up each day as like a different villain. Whether it was like one day I was just telling everyone I was Darth Vader, or the next day I was Sid from Toy Story. It was just like I was always I was very performative as a kid, and so I think it definitely started in me early on, but I don't think I really understood fully what it was that he did until I started trying to do it myself. So in elementary school I started doing some summer camps, and oftentimes they were just like we would at the end of the week we would like do a little act out like a story, whether it's from like a storybook, and I'd start there, and then finally the summer going into fourth grade, I did a summer camp in my hometown where we did like a full musical, and we did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. I think that was the first time I'd done a full thing. The first time I'd really even like understood what a script was, and saw that. And I think that was a time when I felt like, wow, okay, this is something I want to do, and I kind of continued doing it nonstop since then, and gradually it got bigger and bigger. Whereas like I continued to do like school shows and stuff through middle school. And then at the end of middle school, I joined a regional theater that I really, really liked, called the Stoneham Theater, which is a town near me. And that's where I was kind of first exposed to Shakespeare, and did a lot of Shakespeare stuff. I was with a traveling Shakespeare group for a couple of years, where we would do like a very condensed 45-minute production of Midsummer Night's Dream, and we travel to local schools and perform them, and then do a talk back afterwards with students, exposing other kids to Shakespeare as well.
That's great.
And after, yeah, it was really, really, really wonderful. It was really wonderful. And right after that, I then went to an arts high school called Walnut Hill School for the Arts. And then that's where I learned about Carnegie Mellon University. So I applied there, got in, and then I went to CMU and got my BFA in acting there. And then right after that, I ended up moving out to California to pursue it full time.
So can you talk a little bit about auditioning for the Outpost and getting into that role? I mean, you're not just getting to play a soldier, perhaps, but playing somebody that
Right.
you can go research. This person was real. Real things happened to them.
Yeah. At first it was really exciting because this was my first really big film. And so at first I went in with the mindset of like, okay, this is exciting. I'm going to put everything I can into to just doing good with the film. But then I sat down and FaceTimed with his wife and got to talk with her a bit, the wife of the real guy I'm playing, Michael Scusa. And all of a sudden, this movie had so much more weight to it. It was no longer just about trying to. It wasn't just about doing another film. It was like doing justice and honoring the soldier as well as all the soldiers who fought at this battle. And that was something that, so the movie all of a sudden had new meaning to me. And that was really interesting. And I got really lucky when I was on set, getting the chance to like talk to a bunch of real people who did know him, because they had military consultants, as well as real people who were at the battle there helping, making sure it's as authentic as possible. So I did get to talk to people who knew him, and that was invaluable. And really getting that kind of insight, is something you don't tend to get when it's a totally fictional project. So I felt very lucky to be able to have that experience.
Besides getting to work alongside some great co-stars, I mean, Scott Eastwood, Caleb Landry-Jones,
Yeah.
Orlando Bloom, Rod Lurie is also a director I worked in. Tell my age here. I worked in video stores back in the 90s, and The Contender and Deterrence and Last Castle were all three movies that, like, hey, have you seen this? This is really good. And so I always know that Lurie's going to bring a certain amount of military research and realism to what he's doing.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about getting into that role and what kind of training did you see yourself, when you go from getting fitted for a costume for Cymbeline or Two Gentlemen of Verona or something, and then a few years later you've got a flak jacket on and having to learn how to do all of this accurately for a camera. Can you talk a little bit about kind of getting into it on set? Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I'll just say that first off, working with Rod Lurie was absolutely incredible. He is such a collaborative director. He really wanted everyone to be part of the process. So if people came to him with basically being like, I don't know that the guy I'm playing would actually say this or do this, Rod would listen and be like, okay, that makes sense. Let's change that. Or he'd be like, this is why I think we should do it this way. He was very, very collaborative, and that was really amazing. I feel like we don't get that a whole lot. So that was really exciting. And yeah, being on set, we did 8 days of basic training first, before we started shooting, which was probably the hardest week of my life. Cause it was a whole new world for me. Cause as you said, I've never really played a soldier before. This was very new. And going from like doing Shakespeare and theater to basically a military set was very different and took a lot of work for me. But what really did help is I do think there were certain similarities between me and Michael, and I was able to bring a bit of myself to that, so that which made the military component not as difficult. But one thing that was tricky was just making sure everything was authentic. And what was really cool is we had a few military people on set to help make sure that was the case. So even after I did basic training, I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to like do this. You know, it was really hard. It was a struggle, but it was a good struggle because I learned a lot. But I was like, oh, am I going to be able to do this on set? But thank God we had those military advisors there who were able to help us and choreograph it in a way that we felt safe, ways that we felt we could do it authentically and really make us, for those of us that weren't, don't have a military background, because we did have cast members who were, those of us who weren't feel like we knew what we were doing, and also it could look like we knew what we were doing, which was really, really helpful. And yeah, just having that kind of choreography, which kind of reminded me a lot of like when I was doing Shakespeare, and and also at CMU, we did a lot of, I had to take some like fight choreography classes. I kind of tried to take a bit of like that into this, being like, okay, it's just learning some fight choreography. And that's what we did. They helped me choreograph it. They helped make everything as specific as possible, movement wise, so that it did seem like I really knew what I was doing, which was helpful.
Yeah, that's great. It kind of, I mean, it's just really complex and advanced stage combat. Yeah.
Exactly.
In looking at I was looking at your resume and on your skills, you have clowning, and I have to, I'm sure I could Google this, so forgive me if this is a wonky question, but what all does clowning encompass?
Oh boy. Yes. So we had to take 4 years of movement class, and our sophomore year, one of the classes was clowning. Oh boy, actually, it's been a while since I've thought about clowning.
And you can't pass up. You can't pass that up as a college class. I mean,
you really can't.
You just got to rub that in your engineering major friends' faces of like, oh, business major. Yeah.
Well, actually, that was pretty funny. There was actually a point within the class where we had to basically, we would kind of march around the entire university in our clown costumes as our clown characters. And there were a lot of engineering people kind of looking at us, but being like, who the hell are these people? Like, but it kind of became a thing where like every year they started to expect it. They're like, oh, please clowns again.
It's clown week.
Yeah, actually. But yeah, so it encompassed a lot of it was kind of creating these characters and who these people were. And it was a long process. It was like an entire semester of developing these specific people. So kind of it would start with like, just like, there was basically a lot of like junk in the classroom of like, whether it was wigs, different clothing items, different like props. And we kind of had to like go around and figure out what almost like called to us as sort of like costume wise. And eventually we kind of ended up figuring out what our wardrobe was. And from there we started, okay, how does this character walk? So we would literally have like a walking class where we would like we would figure out how our characters walk. And then we would progress where it turned into like, okay, we'd have to figure out how do these characters talk? What's their vocal language? Then we would go into props. What prop does this guy have? I think my guy, my guy had a like one of those like little back scratchers that I think I said was like my magical wand or something. I can't quite remember, but yeah, it was just a lot of kind of playing and figuring out how to build a character. And at the end of the semester, we had this huge clown show for the school, for the entire School of Drama. And there was also something where like clowns from like upperclassmen could put back on their clown clothes from sophomore year and do it again. And it was a time to really it was like presenting like our character to the school kind of thing. It was definitely a unique class, and
I could see that being really helpful. I mean, it was in terms of I mean, any kind of acting and finding your character, and you're reading about this guy in whatever script you're reading, and how does he walk, and what is he going to have, and how does he talk and stuff. There's got to be something about doing it so big. I mean, clowns, just going full tilt crazy. You can't be silly. That's the point. If you're not silly, you're going to fail this thing.
Exactly.
I could see it being like yelling real loud to kind of knock the dust off your voice or something. Now you can go find a regular guy character like, oh, I got to be Willie Loman. Well, yeah, I know where the boundaries are. That cool. That's well within clown.
Exactly. And a lot of it was also like finding the specificity of who this person is, because we had to create a whole backstory for them, a whole we had to get really, really in depth with who this guy was, which yes, it did really help moving forward and going on to other characters and other roles, because you basically created this character from scratch without any kind of preconceived notion of what you're going to do, and yeah. So I agree. I think it definitely was very helpful moving forward.
Well, we can't wait to see you in more stuff. I mean, of course, you've shown up in better things. The Outpost now. Yeah,
thank you.
Gonna definitely be watching for any subtle clown moves, though.
Yes. I'll add that into every part I do. A little subtle clown thing.
Just look directly like Jim style. Just look directly at the camera. A little bit of juggling. I'll know. It's like Carol Burnett in the
exactly.
It's great talking to you. Thanks so much, Scott. Have a great rest of your day.
Too. Yeah, thank you for having me. You as well. Thank you.
TV Dudes is an independently run podcast out of Austin, Texas. We are exclusively listener supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/TVDudes.
You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TV Dudes. All the music for our show is done by our friend and original TV Dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith.
To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com. I'm Randy Lander.
I'm Les Weiler.
And I'm Kyle Scott.
Thanks for listening.